And welcome back, everybody, to the Podcaster Nation. That's right. I said welcome back because I know you were just listening to one of our other episodes and you wanted more. And we have a lot more for you. And this guy today that's on the podcast, you're going to absolutely love. Um, we are the podcast that is about podcasters. It's for podcasters and it's done by podcasters. And my guest today, like I said, is a podcaster. Big shocker. My name's Rory Paquette. I am your host. You guys all know this already. I love you all. I want to thank everybody before we get rolling. You sharing the episodes, you guys, liking and subscribing and everything else that you've been doing. We are growing by leaps and bounds. It could not be happening without all of you. I want to thank every one of you who has listened to us and who has said, "Hey, you should check this out," and forward it on to a friend. Please keep doing that. That helps us grow. But this is the place where the rising tide raises all ships. We're about to get going. So please join me in welcoming our awesome guest today, the host of Generation Evolution podcast, Blake Reilly. How you doing, Blake?
I'm doing great. This is weird. I'm not used to being on the other side. This is weird for me.
This is one of the reasons why we do it is because as
Oh, I like
podcasters, we never get to be on the other side.
I know. I haven't been a guest on a show in a few years. This is actually
Oh my gosh.
fun.
And you've been doing this for a minute, man. Yeah, you were telling me a decade?
I March 2013. That's when I started this thing. March
Wow.
28th, 2013 was my first official show.
Over a decade. Holy cow.
Yeah,
Okay, man, that's awesome.
going on 12 years. This has been a long time.
Well, I appreciate you making time for us today and jumping on the show. And I know you had a packed day because you actually told me you moved your regular show up so that you could catch a particular sporting event. You
Oh
want to tell
yeah,
us what that is?
I'm a massive hockey fan. Like a massive. Like last year, I flew out to New Jersey for the Stadium Series, so I'm a massive Devils fan. But tonight, as we're recording, I hate to date this for people listening, but it's the Four Nations tournament final tonight, and I am geeked out and so excited. Usually we go live at 6:30 on YouTube on Thursdays. I literally texted my co-host, this is my son and my father-in-law, and I texted him, I'm like, we're moving up to 6 o'clock. We're gonna have a hard out, and I have to be in my chair at 7 o'clock. I have to watch this game live. I'm not missing this game tonight.
That's great. No, that's great. And as Americans, you and I are both pulling for the US of A
Oh
tonight,
yeah,
of course.
Jack Hughes is on Team USA, so
Yeah, how could you not?
the boy.
We'll
So
see how well this all ages because this episode is going to come out after the game, of course.
I
So
know, I know, I know. Trust me, I know. It's just. I haven't been geeked out for an international game in a long, long time. So
yeah,
actually,
me
no, I
either.
shouldn't say that. I'm a
Me
big
either.
World Juniors fan. I watch the World Juniors every year on
Nice.
Asian Network. I watch it every year. This year's actually in the U.S. This coming year is in the U.S. But
Beautiful.
I'm excited about that. This is a bigger deal. This is such a big deal. So
All right. As long as we're, because they're going to hear this after the fact. So I'm going to ask you for a prediction here. Final score, but more important than the final score, how many fights?
oh dude, here's the problem. The conductors aren't playing tonight. Unfortunately, they're both hurt. So
Oh,
that's where the fights came from. They're both hurt. But I have a feeling we're at least getting two fights. I have a feeling we're at least getting two. I don't know who yet. At least two.
yeah.
I think it's gonna be more high scoring in the last game because I was shocked that Team USA held in the one goal
Yeah, I was too.
the last game. I was stunned. Like, how do you hold the team that has Connor McDavid and Sidney Crosby to one goal? Like, I was absolutely shocked.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I
that's
expect a
that's
high
legit.
scoring game. I think it's going to be like 4-3 USA. I heard listening to I'll plug us some friends over the Let's Go Devils podcast earlier, and they said like this is going to go overtime. This might go to OT and all this kind of stuff. Like I wouldn't even be shocked if that happened. I would not be shocked at all.
If it goes overtime, both countries are going to lose their minds.
Oh God, I remember it's the 2020, it's like the 2010 Olympic gold medal game where Sidney Crosby scored in overtime. That was an amazing game. That was one of the best hockey I've ever seen in my life. Like that was so.
I would love a great game, but I really just I hope that we come out and we have like 4 or 5 fights in the first period, and just
Or the first 9 seconds, like it's
yeah, set the stage.
so for that don't have like I'm a big wrestling fan. I'm going to talk about that on the podcast. But like the night of that first game of the last USA Canada game, I was watching an NXT PLE with my wife, on Peacock with my wife. So I was streaming the game on my tablet, and then we are going to jump over to ABC when the NXT show was on. I am screaming at my tablet, completely ignoring the main event that I've been looking forward to for 3 weeks on the TV. I've been looking forward to this match for like 3 weeks. One of my favorite wrestlers is in the match, and I'm screaming at my tablet.
Oh my
There's
gosh.
so much going on. So that's the kind of hockey fan I am. So
Oh, well, I wish I was sitting next to you watching this game tonight, man, because
it's gonna be a fun
you
night.
you are ready to
Everybody's gonna
go.
kill me if it's over. I'm gonna kill me.
Oh, I absolutely love this. All right, well, I digress. Let's get back to the
Yes,
podcast
yes,
portion.
sorry, yes.
No,
I
it's
can
my
talk out
fault.
these hours.
My fault. Just happens to be the day, folks. Okay. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
current events kind of get in the way of the interview process every once in a while. So please bear with me.
But it
Uh,
reminds me that I had an interview on my podcast years ago. It was the day after Walt Williams passed away. And I was talking to someone from a Disney podcast. So obviously our podcast diverted, talking about Ron Williams for a half an hour. So I fully understand.
gotcha. Okay. All right. So let's talk about your podcast. Generation Evolution. Tell everybody what's the podcast about?
Okay.
Who are you? Why are you doing this
Oh,
podcast? Give us the story, man.
all right. So Generational Evolution is a podcast I'm hosting with my father-in-law and my son. My son is 16. And it's a wrestling podcast. We do it 2 days a week. It's on Sunday mornings and Thursday nights. I had to plan it around school, and my son's also in track, so I had to plan it around that. But of course I can't do a show during the day for my kids at school. So this is one of those things. It's actually convenient because now I can't do a show during work hours anymore. So it worked out nicely for me. But anyway, it's about wrestling. We talk everything. Like I'm literally in the middle of planning a big WrestleMania week, like April. My birthday's on WrestleMania weekend. My birthday's literally the same week on WrestleMania weekend. I'm so
Oh,
excited.
wow.
But anyway, I'm planning a big WrestleMania week. Like I have, so the Generation Evolution, I call it Evolution because it evolved from an old show that ended in January. I hosted the Blake and Sal show, and then we added with Mark for almost 12 years. It was with my best friend in New Jersey. We started in March 2013. And it pretty much started because I was working in security and I was bored, and he didn't have a job, and we were real close. And I'm like, do you want to sit and do a podcast with me? And he's like, what's podcasting? So we started knowing nothing, and we ended up going almost 12 years. It was amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And we just ended the show in January because his life changed. He's actually engaged to him and his fiance. And they got engaged. He just moved in, so they're living together now. So his life has changed.
Okay.
His job's gotten stressful, so he just needs to take something off his plate. So I'm like, you know what? Me and my son Christian, we wanted to start our own show anyway. So how do we do this? Let's end our show and then we'll branch off to the new show. That's exactly what we did. Um, but no, I love this. This all started because of two things. I'm from New Jersey, so I listen to WFDN all the time. And I also listen to like the WNEW with like Opie and Anthony and all of them back.
Okay.
So I was a huge talk radio fan. A huge talk radio fan.
Okay.
I love the media. I love it. Like I went to school for it. Like I love the media so much. I went to
Wow.
Canadian School of Broadcasting. And like I love this stuff. But I couldn't ever find the in because can't get in because I wasn't in a real school, like that kind of thing. So when I came out here and I was working at the airport I was working at the airport here in Milwaukee, and I started listening to podcasts myself. I think it was Kevin Smith. He went and said, start a podcast and have fun. Just do it. Have some fun. And I was like, that sounds like a great idea. So I started doing research. Fine. This is in the early days when we didn't have Zoom. Zoom didn't
Oh,
do
yeah.
it.
Right.
This is early days.
Oh, Skype.
Yeah, it was and like Google Hangouts and all that random stuff that was going on. And I was like, okay. And I was dealing with a friend breakup at the time. And my new friend, we were talking, we were really close. And I'm like, do you want to do the show with me? I just want to talk. I just talk wrestling, talk sports. We can talk about anything. We can do whatever we want. And we're like, sure. And my wife jokes all the time. I expect you guys to do maybe 6 or 7 episodes. And then all of a sudden we're celebrating our year anniversary. And then my father-in-law joined the show because he wanted to talk wrestling. The diehard wrestling fan back from this. He goes back to like the 80s and the 70s with wrestling. So he wanted to talk wrestling with us. And then he retired from being a cop and he joined the show permanently. So we just kept going and going and going. It was a ride. And I actually expanded out to other podcasts and I did other things. Like it's just what I do. And I love this. I love doing this. I love talking. I love talking to people. I have friends I've met through this world that I would
Yeah.
never if it wasn't for this. Like that's how much I love this.
You can
So
tell. I mean, you can tell that you just absolutely are having a blast, man. I mean,
yeah, yeah, like
you're making me laugh just because it's like you're having such a great time. I love it.
yeah, I haven't even gotten into the meat of everything yet. I'm just like talking about the beginnings.
Yeah.
But because I actually have a picture up in my studio. I just built a new studio when we started the new show because me and my son are doing the show together, and I did not want to be. Our office is just too small for what we wanted to do, and also my wife worked up there too. She
Yeah.
worked half the week, so I'm like, we have this desk down in the basement. I'm gonna tear it apart, tear the basement apart, and make a studio, and that's what I did a couple months ago. I just built the studio down here, so I'm still building it. Obviously, I got posters. I got a new banner up with our logo on it behind me, and like it's a really cool stuff that I did. It's called the Man to Man Studio after my wife, and that's what they named it after. And that's what we. If people hear the beginning of the show, I said live from the Man to Man Studios because that's where we are. That's what we're doing now. So like it's cool to actually have an actual studio, and not just to be like in an office or in my bedroom or anything like that. It's actually nice for a change.
Right on.
But my wife is my wife. Me and my wife have been married for just over 19 years. So she's been putting up with me for this for all the entire ride. She's been doing this with me the entire ride. So I always praise her because she's literally my hero when it comes to this. Because she put up with me when it comes to this stuff.
I understand that. My wife has done the same thing for me, so
Yeah.
I get you completely.
But
Why wrestling? I'm curious.
I'm a diehard fan. I'm a diehard fan. I became a fan in the mid 2000s. Like my best friend then was a diehard wrestling fan in the Attitude Era, and then I just became a fan. And I love talking about it. I just love talking about behind the scenes. I love talking about the storylines. I love saying, like, I remember when I worked. I was in Jersey and I worked at UPS. Somebody came up to me like, "So what's going to happen at this show?" Oh, I remember the show too. Sorry, my memory is weird. I'll remember nothing from last week, but I can remember something from 2003. This is how I am.
Okay.
But
All right.
it was the week that Eddie Guerrero won the title. I remember this specifically because I have an Eddie Guerrero poster in front of me. But Eddie Guerrero won the title. But the guy came up to me. He's like, "You want to make predictions with me?" I'm like, "Sure." But fuck. And he's like, "Do you think Eddie's not winning the title, right? There's no way he's gonna be Brock Lesnar." I'm like, "Yeah, he is." He's like, "Why?" I'm like, "Because I think this match is gonna happen. This is gonna happen. This is gonna happen." He's like, "No way." I'm like, "Yeah." Everything I said happened. Everything I said happened exactly how I said it. And he keep asking me how I did. Like, how did you do that? I'm like, I don't know. I just watched the show. I didn't pay attention to what's going on. And now that I've gotten deeper into it, I've made friends in the business, like actually in the business.
No kidding.
I have friends that are promoters. I have friends that are I have a friend that's a referee at a WrestleMania indie show this year. I have a whole bunch of friends. If you know the production, the publications on Pro Wrestling Torch and on Pro Wrestling.net, that's where all my guests come from. Is from that world. Pro Wrestling Torch is the second most popular. It's like literally the second most popular wrestling publication in the world, and like most of my guests come from there. And they're my phone now. I text people that are like part of this massive publication. I text them randomly to talk because that's what happens now. Like they're just friends of mine now. Like
That's awesome. That's
like, I've had actual wrestlers on the show. Like I've actually had actual wrestlers on the people that are currently on WWE programming have been on my podcast before they became WWE wrestlers.
well, if you don't mind me asking, I mean, if you don't mind name dropping, like who else has been on the show? Go ahead and tell us some of these guys.
Currently, tag team champion Tommaso Ciampa was on the show. Deonna Purrazzo, who's in AEW, was one of my favorite guests of all time. She was on the show. Actually, she was on the show, and it was over Zoom. Didn't have the cameras on. Oh, it was over Skype. There was no camera. And I was so jealous because she goes and says, "Yeah, I'm doing this interview by the pool in a bikini." I'm like, "Why did you tell me this? Like, why would like I'm a mad lover? She's from Jersey. She's my favorite wrestler." He's like, "Ah." I've had Christopher Daniels, who just retired actually recently, who's in AEW. Great guy. That was one of my favorite interviews of all time. We went an hour and a half. He said, "We'll talk about." We went an hour and a half. We just kept chit chatting and talking, and it is a bunch of other like India wrestlers. Like I did a podcast. We did a live show from a show here in Milwaukee. We actually went to a local indie show. We did a live show from there,
Wow.
which was awesome. And then we did media for Major League Wrestling at one of their events in Waukesha. And now a couple of wrestlers are on the roster. Think of that too, who is now who was part of the biggest storyline going on in wrestling right now, was on our podcast live in 2019.
Beautiful.
So like that's what I mean. Like those are the people I've talked to. Like I've talked to these people. Like it's like normal. Like it's really, really awesome the stuff I've got to talk to people. Like I actually had connections at TNA Wrestling and at Lucha Underground for a while. I had connections there. I was able to get people on the show from those companies all the time. Like it was really awesome the people I talked to.
I
So
mean,
I stopped doing
you're having a blast.
yeah, I stopped doing interviews after the pandemic because it became harder, and a
Sure,
lot of my connections lost their jobs during the pandemic. So like I don't have my connections anymore. So that's what happened. That's why I haven't done interviews in a while.
I see.
Right. But it's what it is. Like I love doing it though. I love it. And I didn't even I've talked to non wrestlers. Like I talked to voice actors. I've talked to like Jim Cummings has been on this was on my show a couple of times. He's on Darkwing Duck, Winnie the Pooh, and Tigger.
Really?
Yeah, he was on my show a couple of Pat Stones was on my show. Bill Farmer was on the show. I remember the Imagination Movers on the show randomly one time just because I met him and I wanted to talk about now. He plays songs with his guitar randomly on the show. Like that was such a random thing. Casey Jost from Practical Jokers was on the show at one point.
Wow. All right.
Yeah, just random people that I've had to talk to. Oh, Brian O'Halloran from Clerks. Marilyn Gigliotti is like a friend of mine now. Like,
I love the community. I love how that happens. You know,
like
when you start talking to other podcasters,
I ran into Marilyn Gigliotti at Quanticon, and she remembered me from the time, because he was on a podcast a few times. This is another podcast they said that I'll mention in a minute. She remembered me. I'm like, okay, awesome. So
that's great,
cool.
dude.
Yeah, so like that's the kind of stuff. We haven't talked in like 2 years, and she remembered me. So like it was really cool.
That's beautiful. It's great, man.
Yeah.
That's now okay. Now you've been following wrestling for since 2000. Is that what you said? About 20 years, 20 plus.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I mean, I haven't followed like the current wrestling for a while. I'm like,
Fantastic.
I'm so old. I'm classic guy. I mean, you know, Hulk Hogan, Iron Sheik, Sergeant Slaughter, you know, the original Undertaker, you know, Roddy, Superfly Snuka, you know, these guys. You know what I mean? So that's when I got into this stuff. I think that was kind of, you know, past when you jumped into it.
I did see Hulk Hogan live. I did see him live at the Garden in 2005.
Wow.
It was him and Shawn Michaels. I got to see them live
Okay.
right before their big feud that weird SummerSlam.
Hmm.
I got to see them at the Garden. That was really cool. That was really cool. I got to see
That's
them live.
awesome.
I'm not even a massive Hogan fan, but I got to see him live at the Garden. So that's even when you say it that way, it's cool.
Yeah, I am. I mean, you know, Hulk Hogan was the only guy ever, okay, to break out of the camel clutch from the Iron Sheik. He's the only guy ever to do it.
Fair enough.
And I saw that live, so it mattered to me. But okay, anyway, so you had other podcasts going on. Do you want to talk about any of those? Or are they going on now, or is it past?
I have a list because I reminded myself because I have so many things I've done.
Okay.
I used to I don't know if you ever heard of the Movies by Minute community.
Say it again.
Movies by Minute. I don't know if you've ever heard of them.
Mm.
Okay, Movies by Minute is literally a bunch of podcasters. I'm retired from the group now, but a bunch of podcasters that literally went in and we broke down movies by minute intervals.
Oh, geez.
Every episode. And it started with Star Wars Minute. That's how it started. And they did all 9 movies. They did all 10 movies. They did a solo too. They did all 10 movies.
Okay.
In my minute. But also, I actually started listening to Back to the Future Minute, which is where I actually got introduced to the group. And I came in and I actually did Clerks Minute, where me and my brother-in-law did Clerks 1 minute at a time. And that's actually where I met Marilyn Gigliotti and a whole bunch of other people from that universe. I met a whole bunch of them. That was really a lot of fun. And then we did Clerks 2 minutes at a time. For the gimmick, obviously. And then we kept that show going. And we did Jane, Stella, and Bob reboot for fun. That was just for fun. That was just because it was a movie. Why not? We did that 5 minutes at a time. And then we were doing Clerks 3. And then we stopped because I could not do the movie anymore, personally. I've been open about this. This is public knowledge. I actually got diagnosed with colon cancer last year. And after my surgery, I just couldn't do that movie anymore. But the whole sequence in hospitals and characters die. I couldn't do it. I could not handle it After spending all the time in the hospital that I did, I couldn't do it. So I stopped.
Jesus, man. Okay.
I've also done, outside of that, I did D5 The Mighty Ducks, which was breaking down all three Mighty Ducks movies 5 minutes at a time. That was so much fun. That was a blast to do. And
Wow.
then there's also there's a podcast out there called The Entertainment Apex, which I did we broke down movie Rent, and also we did the movie Miracle, and we tied that in with the Olympics a few years back.
Hmm.
That was a lot of fun. But the whole thing is the guests are all here from the community, from the MMX community, where I would literally call, hey, pick your minutes, come over here, we're talking movie. And like I would go guest on other people's shows. Like it was a whole community for like 4 or 5 years. But I would just jump into other people. Like I was over on Batminute talking about Batman movies. I jumped over to talk about A League of Their Own. I talked about what movies did I do? I can't remember now because I had a whole list on my website. I don't remember off the top of my head anymore. But I did a lot of those movies where I just jumped around. Groundhog Day was a funny one. That was hysterical. Like that was fun. Well, Groundhog Day Minute was so funny. They did the entire show and then said, "Okay, we're done." And then the week after, they started over again, which was one of the funniest things ever. I had to laugh so hard when you did that.
I knew there'd be a gimmick. I just didn't know what was
So
coming.
funny.
So,
That made me
okay.
laugh. Those are the things those are the old shows I've done. And they're
Yeah.
all up on Spotify. I actually moved everything over to Spotify Podcasters last year.
Uh-huh.
So everything's over there. And the funniest part is that D5 show is literally the most popular podcast I've ever done. It still has hundreds of people watching and listening to it now. And I have ended the show 3 years ago. That show's been over for 3 or 4 years.
Wow.
And people still listen to it, hundreds of downloads every week. I don't know why, but they do listen to it. It's crazy.
Wow, man. You probably left some money on the table by not keeping that thing going.
Well, I never made any money. I have not made any money. No.
You don't have any of this stuff monetized? Everything you're doing, all these people you know?
I did so I was a part of a network for a little while.
Okay.
For a couple of years, I was part of a network. It doesn't exist anymore. It was the Filling the Void podcast network. And then we were on Spreaker. And when we were on Spreaker, we opened up the monetization. We did everything. We made some money. The problem is the only money we were making was going into the feeds or the platform. Like that's the thing. We weren't making actual money. So then when I left them and as Spreaker raised their prices, like this is not worth it. And I'm not having. I want to have fun. I don't care about the money. I just want to have fun.
Yeah.
I moved over to Spotify, and I found Spotify was free. And like I spent a couple of days moving everything over, and I'm glad I did. I'm kind of glad I did that because I'd rather just have fun and not worry about the money. Because then when you're not monetized, you don't have to worry about music rights. You don't have to worry about playing a clip on YouTube. You don't have to worry about that stuff.
Yep.
So
That's true.
I don't worry about it. I don't worry about that stuff. Plus the fact that I've done my research in music rights. And you can play music. You can. But people don't do the research on it. They think, oh, you have to do this. I'm like, no, you don't. There's a Spotify rule. If you're paying for Spotify, you can actually play up to 60 seconds of a song on your show. As long as you introduce it and promote it properly, as long as you're paying for Spotify, you can do that.
Right.
So I looked it up.
You just can't use that music in something that you're making money on or something, right?
Exactly.
I got you. Yeah.
But
Right,
it's one thing to run commercials like right now. I talked to my son this morning on the way to school. I'm like, if you have any music you want to play, just text me and I'll make a list. And then I'll intertwine it with the show that we're doing that day. Like I did literally hit the music for today, and one of the songs we're doing for tonight is actually the goal song for Team USA. So like I wanted to make sure that was on there for tonight's show. That kind of stuff. Or like I'm having a friend of ours from the UK. One of my closest podcast friends is in the UK. Haven't met the guy. Have not met him. Have no clue. Never met the guy. And they live out there. We've been working together for 5 years. Never met the guy. But I love the guy. I love the guy so much. And they are coming on the podcast in a couple of weeks. And I told my son, like, I guess we're opening with the Chaperone song, just so you're aware. Because it's because he's non-binary. They're non-binary. So I'm like, we're gonna open up a Chaperone. He's like, okay. Okay. Just so you know, that week. That's the stuff I do. Like That's what I do.
That's beautiful. All right, so we got the show. You're experienced. You've been doing this for a while. It's not even your first show that you've done. So
Oh, I've been this
you've
long.
been around. You've been around
Actually,
for a minute.
I got one more for you.
Go
I've
for
done
it.
live panels at cons. I've actually gone to cons and done panels for years. I've been doing it. I think we're just like actually I've been in front of me. I have my notes in front of me, but I want to make sure I didn't forget things. The 2019 Wisconsin Comic Con, we did 4 different panels because it was a brand new con and they wanted to fill space and we had shows. So I figured, oh yeah, I forgot. I also did a Point Draw podcast. I forgot about that. I forgot we did a Point Draw podcast at one time. Because I problem is I sunk that over to the Blake Estelle show feed because of Pommy World. So I didn't want people to get confused. So I just didn't. I didn't want to. People, if we stop doing the show, I don't want people to get confused. But anyway, and then we also did the Madison Comic Con, which is one of my favorite cons ever. We did a Wizard World Madison, and it was called a Great Marvel Debate, where we came with debate questions and we talked about, and we actually had an audience. We actually had an audience for this one. Like people actually came and watched the show. It was actually really a lot of fun. That was a fun one.
Okay, we got to dig into that for a minute, though. Hold on. What were you debating about Marvel back then?
I got it from my. I actually have the board somewhere. I have the game board. I have the game board on my PowerPoint presentation somewhere. But it
Okay.
was like, what character would you erase from Marvel history?
Oh,
That
stuff like that.
it was actually
Okay.
deep questions. It was like deep questions. There was actually really cool stuff. And like my brother-in-law took the mic and jumped up. He was taking pictures for us. And he jumped on the stage. I knew he was going to say something. He's like, he hates Captain Marvel. He hates the character with a passion. And he jumped on the stage, said that pissed off this lady in the crowd so much. Pissed her off so much that she got out of her seat and grabbed the microphone, the guest microphone. They were arguing. It was amazing. It was absolutely incredible.
What was your answer to that question?
What did I say? I don't remember anymore. I did it in years. I have to go back and listen to that again. I did it in 5 years, 6 years. That show. I don't remember anymore.
First thing that came to my mind was Jessica Jones.
Ooh, that's interesting. I don't
Like,
remember what I said.
it's pointless.
I enjoyed her, but that whole series was weird. That whole series was strange.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. It's like if you on that question, if you take them out of the Marvel universe, then
It
what
doesn't
does it
matter.
impact?
The whole
Nobody.
Defenders don't matter. The Defenders
Yeah.
don't matter,
No,
really.
they really don't. I mean, they're cool. I like Daredevil. I like Daredevil a lot. But come on,
I really enjoyed the Luke Cage. Like I enjoyed the Luke Cage series a lot.
me too. Yeah.
I think. So,
Iron Fist was terrible though.
that was awful. It was absolutely terrible. No, but I'm a huge Captain America fan. Like I love Captain America. So, and I saw this in the new movie because I just haven't had time. But I do plan on seeing it because I really, really enjoyed the TV show, the Falcon and Winter Soldier TV show. So I do want to see this movie. I just haven't had a chance to see it yet.
Mhm.
That's one reason I just haven't had a chance. Plus, we were really sick the last 2 weeks, so like we just haven't had a chance to see the movie. Plus, it was Valentine's Day weekend, and it was my anniversary, so there's a lot going on. Like my birthday anniversary is 3 days for Valentine's Day, so like there was a lot going on.
Oh yeah, you
So,
were busy. Yeah.
yeah, it was a very busy week. So, and plus we wanted to get my son to ignore Valentine's Day because him and his girlfriend broke up a couple months ago. So like that's the whole thing. So just like we were distracting him. So like
Gotcha. All right, what else do you have on your list that you wanted to cover?
Yes.
Because
Oh, yeah,
you're running this just fine, brother. What else
sorry.
do you have? No, you're great.
Yeah. Then there was the 2002 Fan Expo where because my wife wrote a book. I forgot that my wife wrote a book. Wrote a children's book. So when I was working on getting us into Fan Expo Chicago, because right after the pandemic happened, I made friends with the guy who does the panels. I made friends with the guy, and during the pandemic, he's like, "Fine, when you come back from the pandemic, I want you on my stage. I want you on my stage, so I'll make sure you're on my stage." And we did a wrestling podcast on a stage at Fan Expo 2021, which was in on the floor, So it was awesome. We were on the floor. We had an audience. There was people dressed wearing wrestling shirts in the crowd. Someone actually came up to me and was like, "I literally came to, or I stayed here this late just to come to your panel." Like that was awesome. That was a really awesome. We had Nick Hoffman from Wrestling Inc. come on, who lives in Chicago, drive out to the con and do the show with us. Like that was an awesome. That was really cool. And that was the year we hadn't had our mask at the con, so there's only like we only people in that mask on the floor because we had the panel going on. So that was a weird experience. And then the 2022 con, because that went so well, the year after they like come back, we'll do it again. So we did, but my wife had just come out with a book. She wrote a children's book. I Know I Am, which is on Amazon. People should pick it up. It's a fantastic children's book. It's called I Know I Am.
Send me the link for that.
Yeah, it's
And I'll put it in the show notes.
it
Yeah.
is a children children's positivity, like learning your how to deal with being like a bigger person and things like that. It's actually a
Awesome.
really well done story about her. It's like
Very
basically
cool.
her life. It's real well done. So I got her into the con to do a panel on her book. So that was really cool.
That's cool.
And then we did our own wrestling podcast later in the day. All the same. And I met Kevin Smith that day too. I met Kevin Smith that day. That was a great day. That was a great day.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of fun. And then the year after, like, come back, we'll do it again. And then on the floor, we did another wrestling podcast, and that was actually with my son and the three of us, kind of almost like a preview of the new show now. It was the first time we really did anything together, the three of us. So that was actually that was really cool. It's the last panel we did because the guy left the left Bed Expo and he went somewhere else. So my connection's no longer there. But I've done it so many times now that it's like I'm out of ideas. I'm kind of out of ideas right now, so I need a couple of years to get new ideas.
You just need a little creative juice, man.
Yeah,
You're gonna be just fine.
I need a break. I need a little breather.
Yeah.
Plus, then we're dealing with our 10-year anniversary of the biggest South show at the same time. So, like, I went to Jersey for my. How to explain this? I'm from New Jersey. I'm born in Garfield, New Jersey. I'm 20 minutes outside the Meadowlands. That's where I grew up. And massive Devils fan, massive Giants fan too. But and I originally was planning on going out for my grandma's 100th birthday. My grandma passed away a couple months before.
Oh,
But we went out for the funeral. It was crazy. But well, here's the thing: we were planning on we got a suite in New Jersey that we couldn't cancel, so we just made a trip out of it. We're like, fine. It was around my anniversary, my wife's anniversary. So we're like, let's just go and have our anniversary in Jersey and New York. So we did. Like that was the first time we went to the Peloton studio. Was on that trip. And what we did was I literally said, "Hey Sal, it's our anniversary. I'm going to be in Jersey. I'll bring my podcast equipment with me. Let's do a show from the hotel. Why not?" So we did. And it was a great show. I had the whole thing on video. It was great. This is before YouTube and everything before we started doing it. And we had a handheld camera from one of my old high school friends, and he recorded the entire thing. We had two guests on the couch. My wife's in the background just shouting stuff. We were playing random stuff. It was such a fun hour and a half. That was such a great time. And actually, I forgot to note. I don't know if you ever watched the show Comic Book Men.
what show?
Comic Book Men back in Kevin Smith from the Secret Stash, New Jersey.
No, huh?
Okay. Well, that show is based in New Jersey. It's actually based in the comic book shop in Red Bank. Ming Chen, who's the producer of Tell 'em Steve Dave, and a whole bunch of other podcasts, he had the podcast studio in Eatontown, New Jersey.
Ah, okay.
So when we were going out there I think we were going out there for a family trip. It was for my dad's 70th birthday. It was for my dad's 70th birthday. And we were going out there for that. So we made a family trip out of it. Like we went to Staten Island to see the museum out there because we were doing a practical jokers thing at the Staten Island Museum, like that kind of stuff. And we were there, and I'm like, "Hey Sal, why don't we try to get into Ming's studio?" And he's like, "Okay, it's not free, obviously. We paid for it. We split the price." And at the point we were on filling the void, and we joke our boss, David, joke about it. We joke because he was the one in charge. He was the network director. We joke he was our boss. And we're like, well, the three of us, it was right before SummerSlam that year. Like, why don't we do our SummerSlam preview show from that studio? That'd be fun. I didn't realize Ming Chen was such a great guy. And that started a friendship with me and Ming Chen. When I said that to people that watched that know Kevin Smith, like, wait, you know Ming Chen? Like, what? Yeah. So he did that. He came on Clerk's Minute, which was a nice surprise. No, I don't tell people my guests in advance. I announce them as the show's coming out. So all of a sudden, Ming Chen's on a graphic, and I got put a bunch of things. Wait, what? How did that happen? Well, you'd be surprised by that. That was also seeing me like
Nice.
on Clerk's Minute too. Same thing. That was another reaction. I mean, did you know something there? Like, wait, what?
Nice,
But anyway, so we did a show from his studio. That was a lot. That was awesome. That was so awesome. By the way, for those wondering, Ming Chen is he actually? I went to his panel at Madison Comic Con last year, and then we hung out at the Stadium Series last year. We hung out. We hung out as friends at the stadium series. So like that's what they mean. This is the kind of stuff that happens all the time. But yeah. So that's the stuff that goes on.
That's the stuff that goes on in your life. Oh my God, man.
Like, I have stories. Like, this is the kind of stuff that happens all the time. I remember when I was hosting First Minute. I go to cons. I'm with press at cons for like 5 years. We were press. I have my press badges behind me. I have my press badges behind me.
Okay.
And we were press. And I'm just hanging out because I was just hanging out by the stand waiting for a panel to start. And I'm looking at stuff, and all of a sudden someone hears my voice. And this has never happened to me before. Here's my voice. He stops like, "You're the host of First Minute?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I am." He's like, "I love that show. It's so funny."
That's great.
Forever. That was such a cool moment.
That's a podcaster dream, brother, right there.
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh. Good for you.
That was such a great moment. I'm like, holy shit. It was so unexpected. Like, it was such an unexpected moment. So,
Oh my gosh.
but yeah, sorry, taking a breath now. Yeah,
Breathe. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. You got to be there for the game tonight, bro.
yeah. So I actually do want to say when I say I have friends everywhere, when we ended the Blake and Stuff show in January, we did a big live event. We did like a massive event, and like a 2-hour Dubai show. It was a amazing night.
Wow.
And it's our final show. It was episode 542. It's our final show. And it was like we literally said, "We're turning the mics on. I have my notes. And we're just gonna go until we run out of Zoom. We're just gonna go." It had nothing to do with anything normal. We completely broke our show. And we did like I made intro videos. I did all this stuff. I went full out production. It was absolutely insane. But to the point where we played a game on that show, on our anniversary shows. It was called the Google Translate game, or who would call our voicemail line, and then Google would translate it, and then we'd read the translations, which are absolutely hilarious. They're so bad, so hilarious. And we do that. We had 15 voicemails that night from people just to say goodbye to us. Like it was such a crazy, crazy
cool.
time. And we had like my wife called in from like downstairs to say like, because we had a bit with her, and she came on to finish a bit that we've had going for 12 years. Just to finish a bit. She came on to do that. My son was so confused. He didn't know what was going on. He's only been on the show for like 2 years. There was so much stuff for reference like a decade ago. He has no idea what's going on. I paid for a cameo from Tony Chimmel to do our introduction. So that was really cool.
Wow.
Well, we have a voiceover guy. We actually have a voiceover guy. Kurt Hoffman. We actually have a voiceover guy. I don't pay him. He does it for free. And he does impersonations and everything. And I sent him our notes. I'm like, this is what I need for the introduction. But here is what's going to happen. I don't have it yet, but you're going to introduce Tony Chimmel. He's like, what? What am I doing? So that was awesome. So like that blew his mind. But what I didn't tell them, and it's happened live on the air, we're about to have one of our friends who had on the show at the beginning, his wife actually just gave birth. So he's actually getting his wife to bed, and he's going to jump on the show with us. While we're waiting for him, and I didn't tell them this was going to happen, we had a special celebrity guest pop into the window on StreamYard. And it was Jimmy Corderas, who's been on the show before. And he's in touch with me. And I messaged him the week before. I was like, give me the StreamYard link. I'll make a surprise appearance. The look on Kurt's face as a diehard wrestling fan, when I moved the window over and Jimmy Corderas is next to him, and he's like, what is happening? What is my life right now? That's the kind of stuff we did in the final show. So, and on the new show, what I've been doing now is like, because it's 2 days a week and the structure is different and we're more flexible now. I'm like, the cool part, like I have my friend in the UK. The thing is, we had to do the shows in the afternoon because of the time difference. Well, now we're doing a morning show, which is even easier for him. Because now it's the middle of the afternoon on a Sunday for him. He's like, yeah, he's already signed up for 3 shows. He's coming out like 3 different times already at the beginning of the year because he just wants to do our show. Like,
that's beautiful.
I reached out to somebody from Pro Wrestling Porch. Someone had never been on the podcast before. I'm like, here's what we're doing. Can you come on a Thursday night, talk NXT? He's like, okay. because he knows other people. Like, sure. He comes on. I give him entrance music and all this stuff. This is what we do on the show. It's so much fun what we do. Or also, it's cool to say when I message someone, it's like, I noticed it's last minute, but do you want to come on and talk about the Royal Rumble? I know it's Friday, the show on Saturday. We're doing the show on Sunday morning. You come on, send me the link. I'll be there.
That's really last minute.
Oh, but like, it was a spur of the moment thought. It was a spur of the moment thought. That's what I love about my people. I love about people. I can message them and say, here's my idea. And nobody says no. Nobody ever says no because we're having fun. No one ever says no to me. No one ever says no to us because it's like, we know we'll come over here. We're going to have a blast. We're going to have a blast for an hour. That's the best part. Like
That's
we
awesome.
joked about it on the podcast, on the final show. It was on the final show of the year-end show where we went and Sal said it to me perfect. He's like, the best part about doing this show is that we don't know what's going to happen sometimes. And people will just, when I message someone and say, can you do the show? He's like, always say yes. They always say yes. They always say yes. So it's always fun. Or like, we're doing a game show. We're doing a game show. You want to be, like we have a bit in our show and we're bringing it back actually for something in March. Because we're actually part of a podcast-a-thon in March. And the Thursday night we can't do a live show because my son had the track meet. So we're pre-recording a game show a few weeks before.
Cool.
And we do our version of Millionaire. Who wants to be a millionaire? And we
Nice.
joke it's called Who Wants to Be a Bitcoin Millionaire. That's actually what we call it. And, I make a full-out game board with music and all this kind of stuff. And we have people like, this is our phone a friend. This is that. Like we do this all the time. So like we had we're doing it around Christmas time. And I was like, I messaged my buddy Mike, and I'm like, I know we need a partner for Christian. We need a partner for him because his friend can't do the show anymore. He's like, what time? Not yes or no. He said, what time? That's what I do. What time do you need me?
So the show's not just about wrestling. There's a lot more to it. You do a lot of other stuff, man.
We have fun though. It's fun. Like we just do a lot of fun. Like we're not doing it on the new show, but on the old show, we used to do a full out like NHL predictions thing. Like call in predictions, and we had a whole I had a spreadsheet with the points values and all that kind of stuff we would do. So that's the stuff we used to do. Like we have so much fun. Mm-hmm.
Well, are you still having as much fun in the new show as you were in the old one?
Well, the cool part about the new show, is, we got younger. We've gotten younger because my son's 16.
Sure. Yeah.
And the cool part about that is he had a completely different view on everything. A completely different view. And that's what's fun about it, is that he doesn't think like because he's a teenager. He's this generation. And he's not a TV watcher. He's a YouTube watcher. He's a video game player. He doesn't watch the weekly programs. He watches clips on YouTube. Or if I send him something. We literally spent 45 minutes years ago breaking down the WWE 2K25 trailer. Because he wanted to talk about the trailer. And I literally streamed it. We broke it down for 45 minutes. That's the stuff going on in the new show. It's cool. Like we're still getting the format. We're still figuring out what we're doing. It's still new. We're still figuring it out, but it's cool. Like we're having a good time.
As long as you're still having fun, though. I mean, especially at the level that you used to. Because man, I can tell you're just having a blast doing this whole thing. It's just great.
I was talking to my son this morning. I'm like, so I have this plan for WrestleMania week. We're gonna do a setup because for us traditionally WrestleMania week we would do a Thursday night recording. But we would go like 2.5, 3 hours because we'd have WrestleMania to talk about. We'd have NXT, we have the Hall of Fame. We'd have all this stuff to talk about. I'm like, I took a vacation week for my birthday and WrestleMania week. So I'm off from the Thursday before Mania all the way to the Monday after Mania. I'm off. So I'm like, why are we doing this long ass show on Thursday night? If I have the time to break it up and talk to people and do separate shows. So we're gonna do a show just on NXT. We're gonna do a show just on the Hall of Fame because I've been joking. My father-in-law is the wrestling historian, and we give him a name. He'll go 20 minutes on anybody, no matter with no notes.
Wow.
We'll go for 20 minutes on anybody. So we're gonna do, and then we'll do our normal WrestleMania show. But then, we're working on the logistics of this. I'm working on some guests. We're going to do a live show the morning after night 1 and night 2 of Mania. the mornings after. We're doing a live show to talk about the show before, the night before.
Nice.
That's something I've never done it before. And I always wanted to do it. I've always wanted to do that. And I've never done it. So I've always wanted to do a live show the day after. So I'm looking forward to that. Look really, really
Beautiful.
excited for that. So
All right. Well,
yeah,
you just dropped a lot on the listeners. Let me back up just for a couple of quick things
I'm
that you
sorry.
kind of like. No, don't be, because dude, you're hilarious. You're killing me right now,
I'm having fun.
and I know
Talking.
you're having a great time. You threw in there, and I know you're an open book and stuff, but I just want to make sure you threw in there about you were diagnosed with colon cancer. I mean,
Oh yeah.
is that handled now and kind of
Okay.
gone, or are you doing okay?
The part is we are at almost at the 1 year mark of my surgery as we're recording this. We're at the 1 year, like, because we just had the 1 year mark. Okay, my timeline's weird. I got diagnosed. So, okay, for those wondering, I'm a Peloton person.
Okay.
Massive Peloton person. We do Peloton. There's like a Peloton event 3 times a year called Pelofondo, where
Okay.
it's an endurance event. And you do like up to 100, 150 miles in a
Oh,
weekend.
yikes.
So, follow the timeline here. We had Pelofondo, Saturday, Sunday. I'm having issues for about a year. I'm having issues about a year, but my old GI doctor is like, oh, it's nothing. You're probably just lactose intolerant. This is a year before. And my new doctor had this one new regular blood work. Nothing new, nothing major. Brand new doctor for 2024. Brand new doctor. So I did that appointment and I had follow up with her on the Tuesday. Well, I had Telefondo going on and I biked 111 miles in 2 days. Um,
Wow. Okay.
I was work on Monday. And my appointment on Tuesday. On Tuesday, my doctor's like, something's up with your blood work. I don't know what it is yet, but something's up. You're anemic. I'm not sure why. So we had a second round of blood work. And within 24 hours, she's like, I need to get a colonoscopy now. I need to get one immediately. I'm only 42. So I need to get one immediately. I'm like, okay. Well, I had to wait about a week because I'm on Manjaro. So I had to wait a week because of Manjaro.
Okay.
So a week later, I have my colonoscopy. I'm diagnosed with colon cancer.
Oh,
Out of
dude.
nowhere. Out of nowhere. It was a week after doing Telefondo. So like I stopped with colon cancer for doing 111 miles of colon cancer. Who knew? Tumor. Who knew at the time? So we within a month, this is literally within, I had a diagnosis, I had a CT scan, all these tests done within 48 hours. Me and my wife went nuts. We're like, I don't care what hospitals, we're going to get tests done immediately. Because we have all these hospitals in the air, but I work for a company where I go to all the hospitals. So I know them all. I work for a HAS company and I drive to all the hospitals in the state. So I know them. So I don't care what hospital would go. We ended up going 20 minutes out of normal just to get this done. We found out that I officially was diagnosed. So we had to set a date. And I'm like, there's one date I can't do it. It can't be the weekend of the Stadium Series. Because I got tickets. Which is in New Jersey. And I'm a diehard Devils fan. I can't Stadium Series. I can't do it. That turned out to be my final big hurrah. I did the Stadium Series. And my wife had a trip to Peloton planned with some friends. And she went out to the studio, came back on the Monday. And then the Monday in studio, one of the Peloton instructors dedicated that class to us, me and her. Like straight up, I have that video on my phone. She's actually no longer, Kindle Tool, she's no longer with Peloton. But at the time, she did a full dedication to us in studio. My wife's crying next to now one of my best friends now next to her. She's like crying. And actually my friend sent me a bunch of stuff. Sent me this Bailey buddy that's sitting next to me. One of my favorite wrestlers is Bailey. Absolutely love her. Sent me this stuffed animal for my hospital room. For the hospital room. Because I had the surgery scheduled.
Yeah.
She comes back on Monday. I'm prepping for surgery on Monday. Tuesday morning, I had surgery. This is all in a month. This is all in 1 month.
Wow.
I literally took the month off of March from work. Was back at work the first week of April, the day after WrestleMania. I have a very active job. So I'm back at work, quote unquote, on light duty for 2 weeks.
Right.
I had to clean up messes and everything from when I was off. And then I started chemo right after that. Like right as I got back from work, I started 5 rounds of chemo.
Oh my God.
And that was from April until June. Maybe for my son's birthday. I'm like, I need to be done before my son's birthday. But I don't want to deal with chemo effects while we're at a water park for my son's birthday.
Right.
So we did. We timed everything out perfectly. Like I had a con in the middle of all this. I went to C2E2 in the middle of all this. And we did that. And by now, I can honestly say this is my before me going in 2025. I'm cancer free for now.
Congratulations.
I am cancer free. I'm in the survivor plan. I actually got a CT scan recently, and I am cancer free. I have to follow up with them for the next 5 years, but
Right.
at that point, but you'd be surprised what happens when you get back to the real world and people start loving you more, or your wife decides to make a sign when you go to AAW. And I'll tell you a story about my wife pulled off. Let me get a picture here. My wife made a sign, and we were at the AAW. We were sitting right by the entrance ramp. Not even that expensive ticket. We were right by the entrance ramp. My wife made a sign that said, it was 4 check boxes, and it was 9-hour surgery, chemo times 5, kick colon cancer's ass, go backstage to the AAW show. I took a picture of the sign and I put it on Twitter.
Wow.
Keep in mind, podcast world, everyone knows me. I had podcasters retweeting this, wrestlers retweeting this. Halfway through the show, we got pulled backstage. And we got pictures of all the whole of the wrestlers that were backstage. And the reason I put the frame down is that Brian Danielson, who was
Oh my
AEW
goodness.
at the time, one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. I'm wearing his shirt. Because I was happily wearing his shirt that night, and he's doing his sign to sign. It's upstairs on a frame in my room. This is like, that's what my wife pulled off that night.
That's just awesome. Oh my
And,
God.
and then actually, one more thing my wife pulled off. My favorite band is the Bare Naked Ladies. My favorite band in the world.
Mhm.
Love them, and I've loved them since before I knew my wife. I saw them in New Jersey, 2003, 2004, right? Favorite band of all time. And they were here. They were in Madison in December. The tickets went on sale during my recovery month, so I just pushed it off. I'm not going to see them this year. It's what it is. My wife, the best person in the world, wrote an email to the Bare Naked Ladies and to the venue saying we were going to buy tickets, but we were obviously only down the one paycheck at the time. We couldn't do it. Not only did they get us into the show, they got us tickets to the show. They got us tickets, and then they moved up our seats twice. We were sitting 6 rows from the stage in like the handicap area, like a private 2-seater. And that's enough for me. I would have been happy there. The British Ladies, then, the venue gives us a care package. Just because. And then the band gives me this exclusive CD that they only give the fan club members. And then give me the VIP package with like all the swag from that tour. They gave us 2 of them, and I actually sent one to one of my friends in New York, who's also a diehard fan. And then one last thing, I'm like, okay, we're done. This concert was fucking amazing. I love this band so much. My wife got to watch me geek out for like an hour and a half. I was having so much fun. And then the venue told us, don't leave. Go back by the booth. They autographed their set list and gave it to me, and it's sitting upstairs in my room. The autograph set list.
Oh my gosh.
This is the kind of stuff that went on after everything. So like, people are awesome. This is the thing people do when you survive cancer. This is the kind of stuff people do. I'm like, honey, you can stop playing in the card now. We're good. I don't need anything else. I'm happy. You don't have to do anything else right now. But the best part about the thing is my friends are amazing. And we had a streak on the Blick Nostalgia. We never missed a pay-per-view. We never missed a pay-per-view. In the 12-year video of the show, we didn't miss one pay-per-view in AEW, one from WWE, NXT. We did not miss a show. Well, the week of the surgery, there's a pay-per-view that weekend. I am going to be in the hospital. Sal got tickets for him and his boyfriend, now fiance, to see Harry Potter. So he wasn't going to be able to show that. We don't have a show. And then my buddy John in the UK, he's like, I could do the show. You and Mark. They did a 2-hour show previewing AEW that week because I was in the hospital.
Oh, that's great.
While I was in the hospital. That was the week Sting retired. So like the two of them did a full out show while I'm at the hospital. They sent me the link. After I was able to function, I edited the show in the hospital.
That's awesome, man. And your wife sounds like she's an absolutely incredible
she's
person.
she's amazing. She's absolutely incredible. Like my favorite person in the world. Like literally my favorite person in the entire
Dude,
world.
that's such a great story.
Yeah,
I'm just so glad that you're healthy.
yeah, we've been married 19 years. So like we've been through a lot in her. We've been
Yeah,
through a lot in 19. Not like I said, we have a 16-year-old kid. But yeah, she's absolutely incredible. She is my rock.
it's great.
I don't have anything I have without her. So I always say that. She is my rock.
I love your stories, brother. I absolutely love them. Wow, man. Um, I've got a couple of questions I ask everybody. I want to get them fit in here because I didn't want to stop you from telling the story for the sake of time because I was loving it. And I know everybody else is going to too. So this is a little different layout than normal, but dude, God bless you and power to you because you are just living your best life, man. And I'm feeding off this energy you're putting out. Like, I just want to cry, man. It's like, this is awesome. I mean, it's like I want to tune into your show just to like, listen to you laughing and having a blast.
Well, on the last show, my friend Tom popped up PW Torch, sends a voicemail in. And I actually isolated and kept it on my phone because my favorite voicemail of the entire show. And he goes and says, listening to the Blick and Sal show and now this show, The Generation Evolution, is not about wrestling. It's about family and having fun. I'm like, that meant so much to me because that's the whole point of us. Because I have my father-in-law and my son, my best friend, and his fiance jumping on the show. My Sal and his fiance are coming on in March as guests. I've never said that before in my life. It's not coming on as a guest, but they're doing a show because they wanted to come back on with us. My wife obviously is involved with everything.
Yeah,
My best friend in New Jersey, one of my other best friends, female best friends, she comes on the show. Like I have people that are just family that are part of the show, and that's what they love. Another friend of mine, Rich Fan, said it's like being part of your family when you come on the show.
that's cool.
He told me that one. Like it's like being a part of your family. And he thanked me actually for inviting him into our world.
I mean, I don't even need to ask you the regular corny question because I think you've answered it probably 1,500 times. But I'm kind of like Arnold always says, "I'll be back," right? So I gotta get mine in here real quick. Doing everything you're doing your shows, doing your podcasts, and I probably know the answer to this already, but I always ask it, so I got to stay consistent. All right,
Understandable.
all right. The as you're doing all this stuff, what is the thing about all this that you love the most? And what is the thing about all this that you just hate or despise the most?
Okay. I love talking to people. I love interacting with people, like you can tell. I'm I love interacting. I love just getting to know people. I like talking to people. That's um and funny part is like I said, I'm a talk show person. And that's why I love it. I still listen to talk radio now. Like I listen to WFEN still now. Like when I get done
Yeah,
with this, I'm going to listen to Evan Tiki from New York right after we're done with this. I
right
listen to
on.
them every day. I listen to them every day. I'm a podcast hound. I love podcasting, and I literally have the Spotify app, and I listen to the shows all morning while I work this morning.
Cool.
I love talking to people. That's the top thing I love is talking and interacting with people and just having fun. Because I'm a social person by nature. I'm a social person, and I love interacting. And that's number one. The only other thing, technological problems. That's my biggest hang up. Tech issues. There was one show last year, my soundboard died. Like in the
Oh.
middle of the show, my soundboard just died in the middle of an episode. And we had to scramble to figure something out to get the show done. Like we had to
Right.
scramble. We had connection issues a couple of weeks ago. The best part though, the people that I work with go with the flow. Fine. Your mic died? You have to change mics in the middle of the show? Okay, we'll fill time. You have to change from your computer to your phone because your soundboard died? Okay, I'll hang out in the stream and wait for you. Your
That's
power
perfect.
go we had our power go out one time. And we still kept doing the show because we went on our phones because obviously Sal's in Jersey. So we just kept doing the show on our phones. Like, our Wi-Fi went out one time and we did that. Like this but like technological problem is my hang up. I hate when that happens. It drives me freaking crazy. And my wife knows I've had a rough show. When I come upstairs, I just pop in my chair. She's like, "What happened? What happened?"
Right.
But it's not even a bad show because I can edit around it and make it look good. But
That's
like,
great.
that's sometimes it drives me crazy. Like, I
That's
actually the microphones we have now. are not the microphones we started even the podcast with a month ago. Because our spare microphone, I had wireless mics. I used to have wireless microphones. I think they're still next to me somewhere. But I had wireless microphones, and one of them died, completely died.
Wow, that's fast, huh?
And I've had them for a couple of years, but I haven't used the second mic. But I had my mic. I
Ah,
didn't use the second mic. I even had like what happened? I even had these little things made for me and my son for the microphone stands with the logo from the show on it.
very cool.
Or just a new show and new platform, new everything. And
Right.
then the microphone ended up dying. They don't fit on these microphones. They don't fit on these. So now there's display pieces on the set because his is actually behind it. There's a on his side of the camera because you obviously see my side. There's a wrestling ring behind him with a whole bunch of wrestling figures from him. He has pro wrestling tees boxes, so he brought a whole bunch of all the pictures and posters around from his pro wrestling tees boxes.
Ah,
We have
okay.
a ring behind him with all like figures in it from those boxes, and in there is his mic thing. It's in
Nice.
there. So like the next to that is actually an autograph picture of Mustafa Ali and Pentagon and Pentagon, who's currently on Raw every week. There's an autograph picture behind us of Pentagon who's on Raw right now. So, but
Beautiful. Beautiful.
there's one other thing I wanted to mention. Oh yeah, I said talk shows, and I always try to do a tribute. Like in the old days, I try to do a tribute to my favorite talk shows. And
Okay.
like for the 10th anniversary, our intro music was the intro to Opening Anthem. That was our intro music.
Okay.
That was with Street Fighter Man by Rage Against the Machine. That was our intro song for the entire 10th anniversary because that was Opening Anthem's theme. And then we changed over to the Ron and Fed's music because Watley passed away. So I wanted to do a tribute to Fed Wasley. So the last 2 years we did a tribute to him as our theme song to there. It was the Oddities theme from WWF, and that was the Ron and Fed's theme. So we changed it to that. But my intro, I changed it now for the new show, but my intro was a tribute to Mike and the Bad Dog. To Mike and the Bad Dog. It was hello everybody. That was from Mike and the Bad Dog. And I did a tribute to them. And no one caught on to that for years. Nobody caught on to that until they did that 30 for 30 for Mike and the Mad Dog. And after people started catching on to what I was doing. Because it literally was doing a tribute to one of to popular talk show hosts.
Yeah.
And like now, the live, I do live from Animated Studios, that's actually from Joe Bengo, who is from WFAN.
Mm.
So like that's the things I do. I tribute to people that I grew up listening to.
That's great. And you've been doing this for a while. I mean, obviously, and you've got a ton of experience. As we kind of close things out here, and again, I love your story, brother. But as we close things out, what advice do you have for somebody who's just not where you are yet? I mean, you're advanced. You know what I mean? You've been doing this a long time. You've covered a lot of topics, multiple podcasts. What piece of advice do you have for a podcaster who's not where you are and might be having a hard time?
well, well, two things I always tell people because this actually came up in the Facebook group we're in, the Facebook podcast group we're in, and that's how we met. And I always two people I always tell people consistency and don't don't worry about the numbers. Don't worry about the numbers when you start. The numbers will suck. I always have a don't worry about the numbers. You're not famous. You're not a famous celebrity. Don't worry about it because they're not going to matter. What matters is you. If you're having fun, people will find you. If you're having a good time, people will find you. I've noticed that with the YouTube numbers for the new show, they've gone up because we're having fun and we're just doing our thing. People are finding us, and that's all that matters. People will find you if you're having a good time, and always be consistent. Set a schedule. If you're doing a weekly show, do a weekly show. If you're doing for us, we're doing 2 days a week. Do 2 days a week. Like be consistent and don't stop because if you stop, that's where it's like we always joke in the MX community, the community. Always finish your project unless you have an absolute valid reason to finish it, which is why it was so hard to end Clerk's Minute because I didn't finish the project.
Sure. Yeah.
But I couldn't do it. Eventually, I couldn't do it. But always finish your work. Finish your work. People respect you more because you did the hard work. The hard work is finishing the work. Showing up and doing this is the hard part. Once you're in the flow, that's easy. Once you're talking, that's easy.
That's the fun part right there, right?
Yeah, but like setting up the hard part is setting up the equipment, setting up the microphone, plugging in, getting Zoom to work sometimes, getting the stream to work. Like that's the hard part. Once you
Sure.
get that, you're having fun. You're gonna have fun as long as you know, as long as you keep consistent. You know, that's a big deal. I would say.
That's great, man. I love that. Thank you for that too. I love it. Okay, I'll tell you what, man. I know you got things to do, and you got a hockey game to get to, and you got a show to do later. And man, thank
Dinner in the
you.
crock pot. I got dinner in the crock pot up here. I got dinner from school till today.
See, there you go. You got all kinds of stuff. I'm going to let you go. Thank you for coming on the show, man, and just sharing with everybody, and just I mean, honestly, lighten up everybody's day because you're awesome. You're hilarious, and I can tell you're having a blast.
And you know what? I'll tell you something right now. I don't be able to do this net before this. I'm gonna have to find your show, listen to your show, because I like this concept so much. I
Oh, well,
really love
thank you. I
it.
appreciate that.
Because I actually tried to do a show like this, and I just didn't have. I didn't have the ability to get people on board to do the scheduling. The scheduling was hard. This is before I had the job I had now. If I had the job I have now, it'd be different. But I didn't
Yeah.
have the job I have now, or the flexible schedule I have now. But like, I love this concept. I love breaking down podcasting. I was talking about the subscribe to your show, listen to your show, because I love this idea so much.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. That's awesome. That is awesome. And I'm going to have to send you 20 or something for that shameless plug because I mean that just makes me look great. But
I'm just being
thank you.
honest. I'm just being honest with you. I don't BS people. I'm just being honest.
That's
So,
beautiful. Brother, thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing everybody. And thank you for picking the USA to win tonight. I appreciate that too, because I think that's gonna age well.
I really do hope so.
We'll see. All right. Thank you, man.
No problem.
All right, folks, you have had another fantastic episode of the Podcaster Nation. It was beautiful. I'm still just sort of laughing and smiling over here. I'm having trouble getting through my closing. We talked today to Blake Reilly, the host of Generation Evolution podcast. Check his stuff out, guys. You will not leave there with a straight face. I promise you. I'm pretty sure you're going to be cracking up about something. So they do a lot more than just wrestling. Obviously, the show's about family, and you're going to love it. This is the place where the podcasters come together to support one another. If you are not a member of our private group, please join us on the Podcaster Nation on Facebook. It's free. It's for podcasters. Jump into it if you're not there already. We'll love to see you on the inside. This is the place where the rising tide raises all ships. So keep sailing.